saw somebody that you recognize, introduce yourself, shake their hand, start talking shit with them, and it was just a bunch of fun, you know?
Hey, Panthers fans! This is Alex Bryant, joined with Ricky Rain for the Kitty Lit podcast. Hey, I actually I was thinking about this. Do you think I would get in trouble for like every time that we do this? I like make up like a different thing to do. I was thinking about like, hello Panther Nation, like hello Vietnam, or like we were talking about before, like Ricky,
Yeah.
like. But
No,
I
I
didn't
think
want to
it's a
get
great
like.
idea. Do a little
Is
like
that,
personal flair every single intro, you know?
Yeah, does that like you think you don't get in trouble for that? I don't podcast. I don't know. I don't know if you're
No, I
like
don't think so.
if it's like something else. I try.
Yeah.
I don't want to get sued for doing this for
Right,
fun.
yeah. You don't want the infringement law coming for you. No, I
Yeah.
think you'd be okay, man.
I drink beer while I do this, but I always have a koozie on because I don't want to like have like show a
Right.
logo or something.
Yeah.
Get in trouble for it. So anyway, pineapple.
Pineapple,
Welcome
first
back,
of the day.
man.
Thanks,
Welcome
man.
back.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I thought you hated me for a little bit because when we usually talk, you like are super quick to respond unless
Right.
I'm like texting you at like 1 a.m. and
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh yeah, he's probably asleep. But man, I would text you and I'm like, oh man, he's not texting me back. Is he mad at me? But it sounds like you just had a great time at training camp.
Man, yeah, I got there and took a couple of pictures, early just to kind of like remember what the setup was and show family and friends. But then once everything started, man, I was trying to record clips that I could come back and watch, but I was also just trying to like submerge myself in the experience. It was such an awesome thing, man. Like going to Gibbs Stadium at Wofford. It's a smaller stadium. I think it's like 1,300 capacity or something. There's bleachers on both sides. It's beautiful though, and it's where we've held training camp for the Panthers since we've become an NFL franchise. So the historical aspect of it is just a really cool thing to be involved in. And this year we had a great turnout with fans. It was very energetic and lively. The team, like the players, were getting involved with fans to an extent. A lot of hyping up, a lot of interviews before and after. It was just a really cool thing, man. It was a really nice experience. And if you've never been down there, if we continue on at Wofford, I know that's a conversation that's happening. If we continue, I suggest everybody to get out there if they can. It's just a really cool time.
Man, I'm coming. I'm going to
Yeah.
find a way. I know I'm going to have a kid, and I think should be 9 months old at that time.
Right.
So I hate calling it. We don't know gender, so I say it.
Yeah.
We did our anatomy scan a couple days ago, and the person I forgot what they called, not the doctor, but the person that was doing the ultrasound. They were like, "Do you guys want to know the gender, or do you guys know the gender?" We're like, "No." So they kept calling it baby. This is baby's hands.
Yeah.
This is baby's.
Yeah.
So I think I should just start saying baby.
That's probably better than saying it for your unborn child, but I'm guilty of that as well. Before I had a kid, I didn't know anything about children's ages or anything. I would say it all the time. Like a 2-year-old could be a 9-year-old for all I knew before I had a child, And now the only thing that I know about kids, even having a 5-year-old, is that you're going to be sick all the time. That's the only thing I know for certain.
Well, can't wait. But I'm gonna, man, it just looks so much fun. And
it's great.
I think what's like kind of scary about that is not scary, but like you went with your buddy, so that's cool.
Right.
But
shout out my boy Rusty.
Let's go, Rusty. When you go like by yourself or just like two of you, like I just don't want to be disappointed by the other fans. Like I don't want them to be like jerks or like I have in my head of such a beautiful picture based on people I interact with on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But it sounds like they were awesome. It sounds like everybody was super nice to you.
The interactions that you have with Panthers Twitter carries over in real life. There was a charity event that was hosted by Panther Nation and their podcast, and they had Miss Vashti was there for Carolina Blitz, and then Sheena Quick was there. Bunch of other podcast creators, content creators. C3, I believe, was in the building. Cam and T were there. They were awesome. Monty from 4-Man Rush, he was awesome. It was just a really, really cool experience to get to meet everybody, and everybody have the same energy in real life that they have online. Talking ball with everybody was a ton of fun. And there was no awkwardness. It was a very approachable situation. If you saw somebody that you recognize, introduce yourself, shake their hand, start talking shit with him, and it was just a bunch of fun.
Did you tell Monty that he's the reason why we met?
No, I forgot about that. The whole DJ Chark, DJ Moore thing. Yeah, I forgot about
Um,
that being the creation.
yeah, well, I did too. Until I went back because I was like basically getting receipts before everybody just like started deleting them.
Yeah,
Because now everybody thinks that DJ is him, and it's great. Guys, I've been telling you this for months now.
he has looked good.
Look at there pretty quickly because I need to. Because I mean, the last thing I want to happen is to like him to get hurt or for like. I mean, I would love it if like TMJ emerged or Mingo emerged and like to overtook him. That would
Yeah,
be fine with me because he's basically here for 1 year.
I was
Or
actually trying to figure out at
pay him.
camp. There was a play where he made a really nice catch on the sidelines and slid out of bounds with a little bit of contact from the defender,
Mhm.
and I couldn't remember if I saw him take any more reps after that.
Oh no!
And
Don't tell me that.
I saw him at the end when they were doing sprints and stretches and stuff like that. They did a handful of sprints afterwards. Um, and I saw him like behind, a little bit slower pace, and it's probably just a tired thing, but I couldn't remember, man. And I did have that thought. I was like, I really hope this isn't the typical beginning that people are expecting. But he's looked so sharp, man. I don't want to cloud on how good he's been by saying that. That was also
Mm.
very skeptical of me to even think that
Yeah,
he might have
no,
been off.
but
But
we,
everyone also tired. It's a long day. It's hot.
yeah,
But I don't know for sure that I saw him take any other reps after
yeah.
that.
And I feel like whenever we say things that we see, it's not
Yeah.
that we want to infer it. We're just trying to tell other people
Yeah.
what they would have seen as well.
That's right.
So yeah, we never hope for injury. We never want to imply that the player is injured.
Right.
We're just telling you what we see and like how
Yep.
we can, you know,
Especially because people are
articulate that.
interested about DJ Chark because he has been balling in
Yeah.
training camp.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like I feel like I make these comparisons and it's going to sound really outrageous, and they're totally different. But it kind of seems like you know how the Eagles AJ Brown was. I
Hmm.
mean, he just 8 receptions a game,
Yeah.
always going to get close to 100 yards. I feel like Thielen's kind of be that like a poor man's AJ Brown, not the same player, but as far as production, and then Sharks can be like the Devonta Smith, where he's just going to make these 50-yard catches out
Right.
of nowhere, and then 3 or 4 games he's just going to go completely
Handful
off.
of weeks, he's just going to explode for 160 and 3 touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that's the dynamic a little bit,
Yeah.
but we can get into it based on
Yep.
what you saw. So yeah, I'm just going to go right in. I'm going to start with like my deep dive guys because kind of was right so far. What I'm so pissed off about. I'm glad that I have tweets about him, but I was supposed to do a Hayden Hurst deep dive,
Mhm.
and this has just we've had so much time where we can interact. Like life has just gotten away. We put
Right.
eight pods out in what 3 weeks now.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, so it's just so much information. Like I'm bombing out.
Right.
So I'm just gonna go what I saw on Twitter and my reactions because I was here and
Mhm.
you were there, and you can elaborate and say, she might have or he might have, overreacted a little bit, or
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, that's exactly what it was. So first person I'm gonna talk about is Miles Sanders because
Okay.
we actually haven't got that much information about him.
Mhm.
It feels like he doesn't talk to a lot of people. Seems like he's very, very focused. So yeah, let's talk about Miles Sanders. So Sheena Quick just tweeted yesterday, Miles Sanders cuts are nasty. And then she also talked to Frank Reich, and Frank Reich said, yeah, that's our number one guy, while
Mhm.
also implying Chuba has looked really good as well. So
Yeah.
what did you see between the running backs?
Yeah. She's 100% correct that Miles Sanders has looked very, very sharp. So I think maybe why it's difficult to get a read on the running backs in this portion of camp is because there's not pads on.
Right.
So when a run play is called and executed in like a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11s, it's really difficult to get a
Yeah.
realistic feel on how that play would have actually unfolded, because once somebody gets physical contact on him, you don't tackle, you don't finish the play, and he keeps going through. So
Yeah.
you just kind of base it off of the explosiveness, off of is he hitting the hole, with intent, Is
Mm,
he getting the right gap? Is he making the right read? And Miles he's looked really sharp with it. Chuba does. Chuba looks like he's gained some weight in a very
mm-hmm,
functional strength kind of way. He looks
mm-hmm.
bulked up, but he still looks explosive. I
Yeah.
I got a nice video of him in I think it was 7-on-7s. Um or no, it was teams. 11-on-11s, he drill, he just exploded through this hole. One cut, foot in the ground, and just
Yeah.
exploded through and just ran past everybody without it doesn't matter if they were playing full speed and actually trying, you wouldn't have stopped him. The momentum
Yeah.
that he had and the speed that he was moving with. I think it was Frank Reich that said he was playing well over 210 now.
Oh
So
wow.
if he's anywhere in that 220-pound range, 225-pound range, that's a lot of muscle to be added. So
Mm.
yeah, the running backs have looked really good.
Are they so I feel like watching Reich over the years, it's been like a very power run
Hmm.
kind of offense. Not a lot of sweeps, not a lot of um,
A
like
lot of
action
between
out
the
wide.
tackles,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot. Yeah. So, but Brown and McVay kind of split a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they had different backs, so it might have been a
Hmm.
little different.
Hmm.
Do you see any of like Brown's influence that way on the
Yeah.
plays?
There's a lot of motion on the offense. There's a lot of bringing people in from outside alignments into the backfield. Laviska Chenault did it a couple of times yesterday. Miles was lined up as a receiver in the backfield. Chuba actually was lined up on the far side on his at his own on a five wide out set
Wow.
with nobody in the backfield, and Chuba was the lone man on the left side. Um, there is a lot of motion. There's a lot of spacing and getting guys in open space to really use the mechanisms that we use in our blocking that Campen has taught. We're using that really well with the running formations and structures, the way that we're operating these plays. And it is a really nice blend of Frank Reich's usual power type runs between
Hmm.
the tackle and that St. Louis McVay kind of tendencies of motion and doing some misdirection, off direction type of
Yeah.
runs. It's a nice balance, man. It's been cool to see the philosophies mesh and blend together, and it does look like they're doing it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like what Belichick is always, or McDaniels, I guess, did with their offense. It's like you just kind of frustrate the
Hmm.
defense because you just have so many guys doing so much stuff, and
Yeah,
you just get like a 5 yards, 5 yards, five
yeah,
yards, 5 yards. So then they're not going to do this on us anymore. Opens up the middle of the field, bust out a 20-yard run.
right.
So it feels like Reich in that sense, McDaniels are very similar. It's
Yeah,
like let's piss you off by when he had let's get Zach Pascal to get like a 7 yard out and
yeah,
just get first down, first down, first down, first down.
yeah.
Kind of like Aaron Rodgers always did at Green Bay. Like Devonta Adams, 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards,
Hmm.
and then press BG deep around the middle.
Right.
Cool. Just because I haven't looked at it because I'm a jerk and I don't care about the offensive line apparently. Who was running with the ones for offensive line?
It's the same lineup that we've seen presented. It's Icky, Brady, Bozeman, Cade Mays was starting at right
Maze.
guard, and then
Yep.
Moten anchoring over there at the right tackle.
Gotcha.
Um, I didn't see a whole ton of personnel going in between at that.
Mm-hmm.
I probably didn't pay as much attention to the
Right.
offensive line,
Because you're a jerk too.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I should pay more attention.
I mean, they're not doing. I mean, they are doing something, but the
Well,
pads
with
aren't
no
on
pads
yet.
on, yeah,
Yeah.
with no
Yeah.
pads on, it's just kind of like are they doing the right movements?
Right.
Are they going through the motions
Right.
the right way? That'll all change Monday, and Frank Reich was super jacked up about that. I think that we all are to see
I
those
think.
pads get
I
on
think
on
the
Monday.
team is.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
they are.
Von Bell is.
Man, that defense was swarming. I
Yeah.
tell you, they definitely won the day. The defense did.
Mhm.
Um, they we can get into this when we
Yeah,
talk
we'll get
about
to
defense,
defense
but
a
it's
little
just a
bit.
lot
Yeah.
of fun, man. That defense is going to be a really fun watch this year.
Yeah. Thielen, I got Darren Gant. I actually probably should have gone Chark first, but Chark says Adam Thielen runs like he's 26. Is he? Does he look
He
spry?
doesn't
Like,
look
does he look,
slow. He doesn't
yeah.
look slow. So much talk about the signing of Adam Thielen came
Mm-hmm.
down to he's washed up. He's old, like he's, bald tires. That's not the way that I see it. He's still running really sharp routes.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some quickness to him. He's getting separation. He creates that separation because of his technical prowess, right? But
Yep.
he does have physical gifts too. Um, the timing aspect of his routes are really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
He just knows when to break and when to make that hard cut. And it has that defender with his hips turned, and he's just not ready to react to it. And
Mm-hmm.
Thielen's just smart and crafty enough to know when to do that. Um, is he 26 years old running routes? I don't know, man. That's his teammate, and I'm really glad that he's
Yeah.
saying that for him and giving him that benefit of the doubt. But I don't know that I'm going to stick my neck out there and say
Okay.
that.
Yeah. It doesn't. It does. He's deceptively big. Like
Yeah,
when you see him run, he's like Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup is like 6'2", I think, as well.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he was 6'2", I think. But he just seems small. Like he
hmm
just feels small, but he's
yeah.
kind of a bigger
It's because
guy.
of their in your head. You have this like preconceived notion that a slot receiver and a great route runner is just Wes Welker size,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
he's
yeah,
small. He's a little guy that is shifty and you lose him, kind of thing. And that's
yeah,
not always the case. There's a lot of really good, you know, stoutly built slot receivers that
yeah.
just have good footwork and no timing and no anticipation. Um, but yeah, Thielen's look good, man. There was one play that I'm thinking of, a one-on-one rep that he took against Jeremy Chin, and this was an encouraging rep for every part that I saw. He ran a quick little comeback route, and Chin reacted to it quickly. He diagnosed it the right way. He saw it. Bryce just put it right on him for a completion.
I think I saw
Thielen,
that
nice
play.
hands, caught that. But it
Mm.
was a nice rep all around because it showed that even with Adam running that nice route, Chin wasn't lost out there playing one on one
Mm-hmm.
against him either. And that's a good sign, man, because that's where a lot of people are concerned about Jeremy. And
Yeah,
he did a nice job, dude.
yep, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looks like whatever has happened, and I kind of knew you. I do it in my deep dive. There's always older guys. There's always vets that just become the rookie's best
Yeah.
friend. And you
Yep.
knew that was going to happen, and I said it was going to happen, and it's happening. However he did it, whether he's like a communication thing or it's just like I understand my quarterback or my quarterback just understands me, they're gonna have
They
a
got a
really good
nice
season
rapport.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna have a. I mean, I can't imagine Thielen getting less than 100 targets this year.
Yeah, it would take injury, I
Yeah,
think. I
yeah.
mean, you're talking just target, like there's no telling on actual reception, if that's
Mhm.
going to carry over to a 75, 80
Yeah,
reception. But he should get targeted very often in this offense,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. The only thing that I think would change that also is just the emergence of Mingo. Like that would
Yeah,
be yeah. If he
because he's going to improve as the year goes along.
right.
And they use him nicely now. He had a good day too. All the receivers had a really nice day, actually.
Oh, we're getting to another receiver.
Yeah.
DJ Chark. Um, do, 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 um,
Everyone heard of that
uh,
guy yet?
Mike K. DJ Chark tracking ability is uncanny.
Yeah.
Is he good?
Yeah, he's good.
He's good.
And Mike is correct on the tracking. It's when that deep ball is coming his way, he has this great ability of at the right moment and kind of at the end of that route, moving just underneath that ball. Like just putting it to the point where almost every throw looks like a breadbasket just toss from Bryce. And it's a two-way street though, I think. I think that Bryce is making great throws deep
Yeah.
with the anticipation. But I think the DJ Chark, man, is just really, really good at positioning his body and his hands in a way that makes it difficult on the defender to be in line. And that's an underrated aspect of a deep route runner.
Mhm.
Like that's a really important thing. And we've seen it a couple times now on these catches from him that he just has a knack for it, man.
Yeah. I don't want anybody to come after me because I can't compare DJ Chark to anyone apparently without people going crazy. He kind of reminds me of you remember when DeAndre Hopkins was like a rookie or like second year and he was playing with Andre Johnson and
Hmm.
Andre Johnson was like the guy getting all the catches
Yeah.
and DeAndre Hopkins would get these and I can't remember who the quarterback was. I think it was um what's the was it Hoyer? Might have been Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe I can't remember exactly who it was, but that dude would just launch the ball, and it
Hmm.
was the same thing. DeAndre Hopkins would just track it
Find a way. Yeah.
and take it long.
Right.
It kind of reminds me of that a little. I
Hmm.
am not saying DJ Chark is DeAndre Hopkins. For anybody that thinks I'm saying that, I'm saying that it reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's a bold comp, and I'm just going to tell everyone that you said that he's DeAndre Hopkins. Like, we don't need to sign DeAndre. We already have him.
Not saying,
Yeah.
but DJ Chark is good. All right. I mean, I'm usually a pretty humble guy, but I took so much crap for my DJ chart call that I gotta
No, it's good,
flex
man.
a
You
little
got to
bit.
take the victory lap when it's available, right? Like
Yeah,
he's had a really nice showing, and I think that he surprised people with his overall ability.
yeah.
Everyone knows he's fast. Everyone knows that he can do the straight line stuff. But he's just looked really good, and his hands have been really nice too. He's been pretty reliable.
Yeah, he has liked two of my stories,
Mm.
and we responded to one last night. I was like, bro, just give me a repost, just one
Yeah,
repost.
help
Come
me
on,
out,
man.
man.
Yeah, come on,
We're
come
up
on,
and comers. Throw me
come
a
on,
bone.
come on. Maybe he will.
Speaking of
I'm gonna.
receivers too, though, there's another guy though that everyone has been really worried about, and that's Terrace Marshall Jr. because it's been a relatively quiet camp for
Yeah,
him.
we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, we haven't seen any big splash plays still from him. But he looks solid out there, dude. He doesn't look like he's not taking it seriously. He doesn't look like he's not putting in work and effort. He's just not seeing the opportunities yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the nature of the offense. That's the nature of a rookie quarterback who's spreading it around and getting comfortable with everybody. But TMJ, his routes look really clean. He looks like he's progressed as a route runner. His
Mm-hmm.
hands look wicked strong. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's one of his best things is that he just when he gets his hands on the ball, he can grip that and just go. Like he
Yeah.
can pluck it out of the air. And Mingo had a great out of the air pluck catch too. Both of
Mm.
them just have these strong hands that make them so important for those jump balls or those across the middle catch in traffic type of situations.
Mm.
I just don't want people to panic about the fact that you haven't heard his name a whole lot through training
Right.
camp. He's working
So
and he's going to end up being an impactful player.
C3 talked about TMJ, and I think they
Hmm.
were. I think I forgot which guy it was because I'm not so bad with names. But one
Yeah.
guy was saying we definitely need to go after DeAndre Hopkins, and the other guy was like, no, if we do, we have to get rid of TMJ, and I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So if you think right now that Chark can give you the production you need, at least production that's 80%, 90% Hopkins at 30,
Hmm.
I think you do that and keep because if DJ Chark does well, he's gone. Like he's getting a
Yeah.
contract somewhere, and we're
Yeah.
gonna need TMJ. If DJ Chark gets hurt, we're gonna need TMJ.
Right.
If we brought in Hopkins, we would have had to get rid of TMJ,
Yeah.
and then you're shifting everything around, sort of. So I think we made the right move not going after Hopkins, mostly for cap reasons because we have
Yeah.
to sign all these guys, but also because you want to keep TMJ engaged if he starts emerging, and it seems like he is.
Yeah. For the sake of progressing, right,
Yeah,
as a player and for the sake of confidence building,
right.
that if you have the confidence in a player like that and you want him to grow into a major contributing role, then give him that chance.
Yeah,
Don't stun it by saying that we're not 100% sure you can handle this right now. Maybe we ease you into it. No. Line up behind your guy, and
yeah,
say we believe in you. We think you can do this. We're not interested in making an addition until you prove us wrong on
yeah.
that.
Yep, yep. Like think about like the expense. So what did DeAndre Hopkins go for? $15 million, something around there.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So you got to pay him next year for that. So say
Right.
DJ Shark does well, but you see TMJ also doing well.
Yeah.
If Shark leaves and you have a 20 what is TMJ's 23, I think. If you have a 24
Yeah.
year old
Yeah.
and you only got a and you give him an extension, 3-year extension for what
Right.
3 year $18 million,
Right.
way more easier, and you got a younger guy and a guy that's like
Yeah.
emerging into that role.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I also shout out C3.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on. Another call. You can look at my Twitter. I talk about it all the time, but another win for me. Will Kunkel. Hurst has been waiting for a moment like this his entire career. He's preparing for a lot of balls to come his way. Reich says tight end is very important in his offense.
Hmm.
When people talk, listen to them. Hurst is going to have a big, in my opinion, you saw it. I'm asking you, I'm kind of asking you. I think tight end in general, I'm going to ask you about Hurst and Trimble,
Hmm.
but Hurst seems to think that he's going to get a lot of targets his way, and we've seen it throughout Reich's entire career, back to Antonio Gates, Ertz,
Hmm.
Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox. We know this,
Yeah.
but everybody, you know where he's going in fantasy drafts? Tight end 27. You can get him for free in fantasy. Eric Ebron went tight end 17 his first year in Indy. He
Hmm.
finished as tight end 4.
Yeah. I
Like,
remember that. That was a big year for Ebron.
what
Yeah,
are we doing?
yeah. So the tight end position has also been one that I think has been more quiet throughout the first installment of training camp. That first block, I think, is how Frank worded it. Um, Saturday, they all looked good.
Hmm.
They all showed. Tommy Tremble,
Even
Tommy Tremble
Thomas.
had some really nice plays.
I know I saw Trimble, but even
Yeah,
Ian Thomas looked good.
Ian Thomas looked good. Yeah,
Oh wow.
Ian Thomas had a couple nice little pass catches. Now Thomas, see, that's the thing though, and this is what Frank talked about as well, is that each one of them has a strong suit, and each one of them has a skill set, and then they all have the versatility to kind of like interchange with those things. But he's going to scheme up things and call people's plays and numbers for their strengths as well. So Ian Thomas, where you may not see him catching a lot of deep passes or anything like that, he's integral to the run game. He's integral to the play action game. Um, Hayden Hurst, yeah, I do think that he's going to see a lot of targets. I don't know that I necessarily agree 100% that he's been waiting his whole life for this opportunity, because he had a
He
pretty
said
good
it.
opportunity playing with Joe Burrow, right? Like
Yeah, he got
that,
hurt. I
he
mean,
got hurt, yeah, but he still was. That was his big opportunity. He went to the postseason. He was a safety blanket in the
mm,
playoffs for Joe Burrow.
yeah,
So I mean, he's had a big moment before.
yeah.
That doesn't mean though that he's not probably going to see more activity on the
Well,
offensive side here,
that's the
right?
thing.
Yeah,
Different
because
offenses. You know, Frank Reich's going
different
to throw the
offenses,
ball.
different supporting cast, because they
Yeah,
did have the superstar Jamar Chase and T
yeah,
Higgins,
yeah,
and Tyler Boyd. Like they have a very deep, dynamic wide receiver corps in
yeah,
Cincinnati. But yeah, in Frank Reich's tight end centric offense,
yeah.
he should absolutely see more action than he has in his career. I would agree with that.
Hmm.
I don't agree with him being tight end 27. I agree with him being tight end 8,
That's what I had. That's
maybe
what I
somewhere in
had.
that range.
Yeah. I had him
Yeah.
tight end 8, and like it's
Fringe top 10 tight end,
yeah,
right? In
yeah.
fantasy
He's a
land. In real land, in real football, which don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on fantasy football. I love fantasy football.
yeah.
I'm addicted to it, been playing for years. Shout out Carolina's Champions Cup League.
Let's
That's
go.
that's my guys. I think that in terms of actual football value, I think that Hayden Hurst, yeah, he's still a top 10 tight end, fringe tight end, but it's less noticeable because of the fact that he's going to be rotated in and out. He's not going to get 95% of the snaps like a Travis Kelce or somebody
Yeah.
else would, right?
All you
So
need
he
is
won't see
targets.
the usage.
Right.
Um,
In
but his
fantasy, I'm talking
value
about.
to
Yeah.
this team and to this offense, yeah, man, he's fringe top 10, and he's going to have a major impact here. I
Yeah.
think that Tommy Tremble is too, though, and I think Tommy Tremble can be used a little bit more out of the backfield, different alignments. Like
Yeah.
I just think that he's got a little bit more of an athletic dynamicism that
Yeah.
maybe Hurst lacks, but he doesn't have the consistency that Hurst has
Yeah.
shown. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how they deploy all three of these guys. And then keep in mind, Gio Ricci is still technically going to be called a tight end or a fullback. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
they'll have him listed, but he's going to have a little bit of involvement too, man. He's a nice player.
Yeah. So a little bit about Ebron. See, you can see like a trend. You know who Reich likes.
Yeah,
Ebron, 6'4", 250, runs a 4.6, first round talent. Hurst, 6'5", 250, runs a 4.6, first round talent.
similar. Yeah,
Like you kind of see it happening. I kind of agreed with Trimble. And when I talk about this, I do a fantasy podcast as well. But when I talk about it in fantasy, I said the tight end offense in the Bengals had 92 targets last year to tight ends. Reich, in his 4 years, he averages out around 130 to 131 targets
yeah,
a year
that's
to
a
tight ends.
significant uptick. Yeah,
42% uptick in tight end
yeah,
targets. So
yeah,
you're going to have a lot more opportunity, even if you see less snaps.
definitely.
So that's only a fantasy thing. I also think that Hurst he's a very reliable. He was number 2 in catch percentage. He's perfect for what Reich needs, and he's going to be
Yeah,
a good red zone threat outside of Thielen, even though I think Thielen's going to be number 1 red zone threat.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we talked. I felt like we flew through the offense. But we
Hmm.
talked about it for a little while, looking at our clock right now. So I kind of want to actually, let's touch on Bryce. We kind of talked about him like through these guys.
Yeah,
How good does Bryce look?
he looks good. He's the real deal. He was less than sharp on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. I think that the main thing that I saw with the offense right now is that the timing is still a work in progress.
Of course.
There are flashes of what we are shooting for and what we're aiming for with this offense, that we're getting a good look at it right now. And when it plays that way, when
Mm-hmm.
we reach the potential and we are firing on all cylinders, it's awesome, man. Like
Yep.
the routes that are being run by these receivers, a lot of levels, a lot of spacing, a lot of spacing, a lot of mesh, a lot of crossing. It There's just a lot of fun elements to the offense, and Bryce is executing it at a high level. The
Mm-hmm.
timing is the part that is still being worked out.
Yeah.
He was off on a couple of throws, behind on a couple of routes. Even though the catch that I was talking about by Jonathan Mingo, the great pluck out of air with his hands, it was slightly behind him. That's why
Mm-hmm.
he had to turn and make that really athletic catch. Um, but once that timing gets there and these things are operating a little bit more seamlessly, it's going to be a dynamic offense, and it's going to be because of Bryce's correct reading of defenses.
Mm-hmm.
That chess match, I think, is really helping him. Playing up against Evero's defense every single day, I really think has benefited Bryce clearly already because of his anticipation that he's showing that he knows he has to play with. Maybe he's not nailing these throws with the timing right now on every single opportunity, but he knows where he has to put the ball.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a sign
Making the
that he
right, like
is,
the right play.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And it's a sign that he is seeing things correctly and he is learning the NFL offense that he's running. The timing just isn't 100% there. And that's to be expected. Once we
Mm-hmm.
get pads on too, and that's on Monday, once we get pads on, once we do the joint practices against an actual opponent, let's see how he progresses in that. I think that he's going to progress like weekly.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild to say that because you're like, no, I mean, you're not going to see noticeable changes in the way that an NFL player plays week by week. For a rookie, I think you kind of do, but for a
Mm-hmm.
guy like Bryce, it's evident.
Yeah.
Like you could see from his very first few practices that he did at OTAs and stuff like that as to where he is now. He's even got more command. And that's a scary thing because for a guy like him, if he continues on with that trajectory of getting more command and timing being more on point and consistent, he's going to be a dangerous, dangerous quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, that's why you need the. So I mean, I'm not like crapping on Mingo,
Yeah.
but how I know we said it was slightly behind him, but how much
Hmm.
of that is on Mingo? It feels like that's why you go after these vets that still have game in them is
Yeah.
because they know where to be, the timing, the intricacies of it. The
Yeah.
younger players don't always have it. They don't have their routes are sometimes it's 10 steps, sometimes it's
Yeah.
7 steps, sometimes so the timing is always going to be tougher for the younger
Yeah.
people, the younger NFL players,
Players, right?
wide receivers. So that's why I think that Thielen's very important. Miles Sanders is
Hmm.
very important. Hurst is very important. These guys that have been around, they know that I have a rookie quarterback, can't read my mind. I have
Right.
to make sure that every route that I do on every single play is exactly how we practice it because I got to help my quarterback out. And I
Right.
think that's something that Mingo has to kind of learn.
Yeah.
But when that happens, like you said, when that happens,
Yeah.
that's
When it's
when
firing on all cylinders, it's going to
yeah,
be dangerous. Um, the other thing with the Bryce part of this, and Frank talked about it with the interception, not Saturday, but I think it was in Thursday's practice, one of the interceptions. I think it was the CJ Henderson one. Um, he talked about it and said it was a miscommunication with the receiver and
yeah,
Bryce. And that's also a part of this that is getting cleaned up and tightened up is communication and timing. That's the whole point of practices. You
yep,
get better by repetition. Practice makes perfect, right?
yep,
Every old adage that you can think of, it's an adage for a reason. It's true. You
yeah.
have to do this stuff over and over and over. And you see some of these no pad drills that everyone's like, well, how does that even really benefit the team when you're not wearing pads? Walking through training of your brain, you like making that mold in your head of what your body is supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Um, as they get through this with pads on and they get to see full speed, I think that they're going to feel really comfortable with where Bryce is coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's way more excited where we are now versus
Yeah,
where we were last year at this point in time.
absolutely.
So, yeah, he looks, and
Looks really good.
I,
And he does look human though. That's important to
yeah,
remember. He looks
yeah,
really good, and he also looks like he's not perfect.
yeah. Patrick Mahomes looks like that. Like
Yep,
Patrick Mahomes when he played the
a
Bills.
little less human for Patrick Mahomes, but
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like every quarterback, Brady threw a pick six against the Titans to lose his last game in New England.
yeah,
Mahomes threw a pick to lose the game against Buffalo last year. It
yep,
happens, guys.
yep,
It happens. It's fine.
Absolutely.
You're human. Everybody's human.
Yeah.
Um, moving on to the defense, because like you said, they won the day.
Hmm.
I'm going to kind of touch on all of these. Actually, what I want to do is I want to give you this platform to talk about how we're using them. But John Ellis tweeted out Chin, Bell, Woods seeing plenty of time together.
Yeah.
Are they on the field a lot together? 50%
Yes.
of the time, 75% of the
Yeah,
time?
I don't know what percentage I would put on it, but that was one of the takeaways that I had from Saturday is that the defensive structure that we're running, it's a lot of sub packages. It's a lot of nickel personnel. And that makes a ton of sense with the way that the roster is set up in the fact that we know that Chin has his more obvious deficiencies in coverage and when he's deep, so he's better suited playing close to the line or in the box. But you also don't really want to say he's only going to be on the field as a in the box safety for a couple of snaps. You know, like you
Mm-hmm.
want him on the field as much as possible. And it's also the way that Evero disguises his coverages and his defensive fronts. We had multiple times yesterday where I saw there was two guys with their hands in the dirt and the rest were linebackers crowding and stuffing that line and filling the box. And actually on the interception that Shaq had on Bryce, he was up against the line. He was pressing up against the line, showing pressure, and then dropped back into man coverage and stayed with his guy the entire time and made a great sideline interception. And that was it was one-on-one athleticism staying with the guy and playing well, but it was also in that defensive design, that philosophy that play was running. We're seeing a lot of that sub packaging though. So
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised to see more three safety calls and formations out there. I just don't think you can really call it three safety because Chin is playing this big
Yeah,
nickel. You
right.
know, like it's just a different alignment than a
Mm-hmm.
safety. But yeah, the three of them, I think you'll see them out there a lot. Our secondary in general, man, was probably the thing that I came away with most impressed yesterday. CJ Henderson and Keith Taylor look improved to me. I'm not going to say that they're going to be, you know, top 25 corners in the league, but they don't seem like the guys that will get burned for 160 yards and three touchdowns
Yeah,
again.
yeah, right.
They CJ was quoted yesterday as talking about he knows that it's a contract, it's a bad year for him. He's got to
Well,
prove
crossing that
his
off the
worth. He's got to
list.
do it. Say what now?
So I'm crossing that off the list. I had that
Yeah.
as a
Oh,
talking
you
point.
had that. My
No, I
bad.
didn't interrupt you. Keep going.
No, that's my fault, man. You got these great talking points, and I'm over here just blabbering.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. You were there. I'm just this guy that just like
Um,
says.
yeah, so CJ, he knows that this is a make it or break it year for him. He said as much in his own words, and he's taking it seriously. It's always been a question of can he do it consistently? Can he put it together and make the mental part work with the physical? I think the staff is going to help him there. I do see him working a lot on the physical. Um, I feel decent about it. And Keith
Mm,
Taylor looks pretty nice. He had a couple of reps on 101s against Jonathan Mingo, where he stayed with him, made a nice play at the end to kind of make it difficult for him. Um, they also have a noticeable separation from the new guys that have been brought in, the Herb Millers, the Rajon Wright. Um, those two do not look at the level of CJ and Keith Taylor,
yeah.
which is expected, but also is a nice thing to hear because there's a lot of optimism from fans, especially that all of a sudden this undrafted free agent, Rajon Wright, was going to come in and take over as quarterback too if
Mm,
Dante wasn't playing well or if CJ or if JC got hurt. That's not going to be the case. These other guys look better. And that's a good, encouraging sign for the fan base for not believing in them.
mm,
If they're showing improvement, that's a good thing for this defense.
yep.
And
Yeah.
it also has to make you feel comfortable that if we run out 4 or 5, secondary guys as opposed to a heavy 4-3 defensive alignment, we're not losing anything by having them out there. These are physical guys, they're fast guys, we're going to play an aggressive defense, and they kind of fit that mold. So I think that just this defensive philosophy and the change in the environment there is really going to benefit guys like CJ Henderson and Keith Taylor, and they looked nice on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. Warren Sharp and Sharp Analytics have
Mm-hmm.
the Panthers as the eighth best secondary in the
That's
league.
wild, isn't it?
It's so and that's like that's why I'm glad we're doing this. We talk through this kind of stuff
Yeah.
because I know as Panthers fans we get upset when our guys don't play well. We want to blame it on someone
Yeah.
instead of just being like The coach was freaking awful. Like, he
Right.
was terrible. We dealt with injuries. We didn't have the right personnel playing in the right spots. Like, look out for like guys like Jeremy Chin this year, Derek Brown this year. These guys that are playing like in their actual position.
Yeah.
That's gonna like give them the best ability to do what they do best.
Right.
Yeah, shout out Sharp Analytics. But
Yeah.
eighth best secondary, and you see it. I mean, we got a first round talent in Horn, first round talent in CJ. We loved Keith Taylor until he got burned by Mike Evans. Like,
Yeah.
we gotta understand that we're okay.
Yeah.
We're
I
okay.
just think that you're right. I think that there's talent there. I think that there's potential, and we don't need to panic just yet. Let's see how it goes at the beginning of the season. See if the progression in camp translates to the regular season in the playing field, and just take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
We got cap space. We can trade.
yeah,
We
yeah,
can
right.
always make moves. We're an aggressive
We're gonna see
front
how things
office.
happen. Yeah, we're gonna see how things look with pads on, and then we're gonna see what happens with the big cut and the shakeout of other people's rosters, and then we'll be able to assess and make a decision from there if we need
Absolutely,
to. Yep.
absolutely. Moving on, kind of in the same bell. Well, same vein.
Or Bell, either way.
Yeah, well, I'm
Bells
talking
and
about
veins
Bell.
interchangeable.
Yeah, same Bell. Listen, whatever. So Mike K in his like breakdown of yesterday,
Hmm.
one point, Shaq T and Von B ball out.
Yep.
Were they the best players on the field yesterday?
Probably. I would also put Derek Brown in there. Derek
Oh,
Brown was incredibly disruptive. Um, I
crossing that off the list.
took another one, huh? Yeah. Look at me. I'm
Go ahead
fucking
and talk about
going
Derek Brown
today.
then. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but I do think that Von Bell 100% stood out. He was all over the field in coverage. He was, the other thing about Von Bell, and I saw him in pre-practice stretching, and he's just chirping, man. He's just barking the entire time. That dude has charisma. That dude has an energy that is infectious, and you can see it going through the defense. It's an identity almost. Like we have a lot of heart on the defense. We just didn't have a ton of vocal leaders, I don't think. Derek Brown is a beast of a human being. When I saw him just standing on the field yesterday, I literally tapped my buddy and I was like, that dude is gigantic. Like just a barrel chested manimal. It is incredible how big he looks next to other exceptionally large human beings. Von Bell, Derek Brown, and Shaq Thompson. Shaq is everywhere. Shaq is moving so fluid. He is just playing with instinct. That interception that he had yesterday was a beautiful play. If you haven't seen that clip, go check it out because it's a fun one. You can see how the offensive aligns. You can see how the defense aligns. And it's a really fun rep on both sides of the ball with a high-level athletic play to finish it off. Von Bell, there's just not a lot that you could say about him that hasn't already been said. He's going to be the most undervalued addition on this team for the 2023 season. I truly believe that. I don't mean that he's going to be the biggest impact for a newcomer on this team. That's Bryce Young. But the second
Or
biggest
DJ Chark.
impact, or DJ Chark, sure. And look, I love DJ Chark, and I'm very, very happy about it. But what Vaughn brings to this defense is something that is a landscape-changing move for us. So yeah, shout out Mike K. He was right on that. That was a really impressive day from those two plus Derek Brown.
Yeah, I mean, safeties they're important. Like
Yeah,
the Eagles, and that's why I think the Eagles are going to take a step back this year. They won the
and
Super
they're
Bowl. They
they're
got
important, especially in a defense like Evero's too, right?
yeah.
That comes from that Vic Fangio defensive tree.
Yeah, look at Justin Simmons. Like
Yeah,
he
they're just
brutal.
integral, man. They've got to
Yeah.
be very versatile, and they're tasked with so much. Pre-snap, post-snap, they're tasked with so much responsibility in these kinds of aggressive, high intelligence defenses. And he's the kind of guy that will operate that to a T.
Yeah. I mean, you can go back to Troy Polamalu. Like safeties are always.
Yeah.
C.J. Gardner Johnson goes to
Yep.
the Eagles. They go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Tyrann Mathieu is on the Chiefs. They won a Super
Yeah.
Bowl. Like
Yeah, he made a big impact.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. These guys, you need these guys to kind of make everybody else feel comfortable, or, like that are in front of them. I guess
Right.
is the best thing to
Yep.
say. But yeah, I'm And I don't think that it's undervalued now. I think everybody that was at, and that's why I wanted to bring him up quite a bit because almost all the tweets I saw, Von Bell. People, I saw
Yeah.
the most tweets about Von Bell, DJ Chark, of
Yep.
course, Bryce, Derek Brown. Well,
Yep.
I have you for Derek Brown. I said Ricky Raines. Um, Derek Brown living behind the line of scrimmage. Tweet
Yeah.
from you. And he says to Sheena Quick, "We just want to win. No slogan.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to win."
Yeah.
So that's like all I have is like guys that like kind of stood out to me as far as like the amount of
Yeah.
people that were being talked about. Is there anyone? I knew that you. I know people, guys that you've already talked about that you might want to go further and elaborate on them more. But is there anyone else that I'm missing that had great days that kind of flew under the radar?
No, I think that those are the highlights for sure. There's a couple guys though that I did kind of take notice of. That one is a guy that I liked as a undrafted free agent signing. Now I'm not saying that he's going to be super duper impactful, and I think that he got more playing time because Marquise Haynes was out on Saturday. Reich saying that he had a minor back issue. It didn't seem overly concerned about that,
Yeah.
but it kind of
Multiple
leads
reports.
into but it kind of leads into I think this guy getting a little bit more reps was Iku Leota, the undrafted free agent
Oh,
out of
wow.
Auburn. He was involved on second and third units, and he had a what would have been a sack on Bryce Young. He came through. He had a nice spin move, got the pressure on the quarterback, and he had
Sorry.
multiple opportunities where I saw him lined up and playing, and he held his own. Man, like
Yep.
that's a development that I will keep my eye on because of the fact that he's like 6'4", 260, 257, something like that.
Mm.
Does have a nice pass rush arsenal. He dealt with injuries that cut his season short at Auburn this past year. Before that, I think he already accrued 2 sacks maybe in like 3 games. Has a nice arsenal, has a nice repertoire of moves. He's a power to speed guy, but he can set the edge as well. He's got a bigger frame, but with more athleticism. DJ Johnson, man, again, was another guy that I saw that I was not super stoked on. I'm hoping again that it's early and that there's still some refinement that's going on. But he looked you said it the last podcast that we had together, he looked clunky. He was moving very, very choppy. He did not look fluid. I think there's a lot of work to be done there. So I'm not expecting a huge impact from him this season.
Yeah.
And that also kind of changes my mind a little bit. Now, I didn't expect a huge impact from him, but I also didn't anticipate no impact, which I think is a realistic thing being a possibility. I think he could play minimal snaps if he's not showing a profound capability to set the edge and play run defense. If he is not outstanding at that, he's going to have a really difficult time finding the field.
Yeah.
Leota is fun to watch for that, but again, he's got to even make the 53 as an undrafted free agent.
There's not enough spots. That's the problem.
So I think that changed my mind, though, on Saturday with Marquise Haynes already dealing with an ailment. I know it's not serious, but with an uptick in usage, he's going to see an uptick in wear and tear. I think we've got to look at signing somebody.
Yeah.
And I have not really been steady in that camp because I do believe in what we have on this roster. But if this roster doesn't stay healthy with these guys that we're already taking a chance on developing into somebody that is better than what they have historically proven to be, we could be in a pretty big jackpot if we go into it with just YGM and DJ Johnson behind Marquise Haynes.
Yeah.
Amari Barno looked okay. He looked athletic. He looked like he had ability. I just didn't see any major production or plays from him, right? He looked like an NFL player, though, which is nice. The other name, though, that I'll say here, and this is another defensive front, and this isn't somebody that'll be coming off the edge, was Taylor Stallworth, number 78. He was in the backfield a couple times, too, man, and like that was against, I think, second unit. He also played a lot of the third unit. Marquand McCall also looked really nice yesterday. Marquand McCall and Derek Brown stood out on the defensive front. Those were the two best defensive linemen I think I saw yesterday. And Marquand played with the first string, second string, and third string units. He was just getting reps. And on each unit that he played on, he held his own. He was important to what was going on the field. Even if he wasn't disrupting the backfield, he was occupying. You know what I mean? He's a space eater. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
They both stood out to me as the defensive linemen. But Stallworth actually looks pretty good, man. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that defensive line and who they carry. Because a guy
Mm-hmm.
like Bravian Roy, I'm not sure that he's going to make the team if Marquand McCall starts performing better. And if
Yeah.
somebody like Taylor Stallworth proves to be pretty good, you've got
Yeah.
versatility from the guys like Deshaun Williams and Shai Tuttle. So you don't have to carry some of those
Right.
guys. It's
Yeah.
going to be interesting. But Iku Leota and Taylor Stallworth were depth names that looked better than I anticipated them looking, especially Leota, because I haven't seen a single mention about him throughout camp or anything. And it was nice to see him, man. I think that he's got some potential.
Yeah, and there are gonna be injuries to someone. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to predict it on anyone, but to get through this whole training camp and no one going down
Yeah.
is tough to think about.
Right.
So these guys might have to matter. They might be
That's right.
important. But man, Mike K on the Marquand McCall, dude. When
Yep.
people talk, listen, and he said it twice.
Yep.
If and a guy that like he's new to Panther Nation, if he's
Yep.
gonna make like put that flag out there,
Right.
people talk. Listen, man,
Yep.
I am all in on McCall if he is all in on McCall, and I think if he is as good as Mike K is like kind of touting him,
Yep.
watch out for Derek Brown sacks.
Absolutely.
If you can get 4 or less in Vegas odds on Derek Brown sacks, I don't think he got one last year at all. He's going to have a monster sack season for what he does.
Right.
I'm looking at 6, 7, 8 sacks for him.
I think it's possible.
So because man, when he was at Auburn, he basically was like any great defensive tackle you can think of right now, Aaron Donald,
Yeah.
Chris Jones, like he was that at Auburn. And
Mhm.
he was playing out of position, man. Like
Yeah.
now, I think he's gonna have a monster. I think he's the one on our team that has the best chance at being him and Burns have the best chance of being all pro this year.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I
if JC Horn can stay healthy, man, if JC
yeah,
Horn can stay healthy and play 16, 17 games this year, I think he will climb up those ranks and be talked about as a consensus top 5 corner.
yeah,
I even think that if you look at a guy, Sauce Gardner is great. He's a rookie, but he was terrific. But if you look at him and JC, I even think that there's going to be a real path that you could say JC Horn is a better, more complete player than Sauce
mm-hmm.
Gardner. No specific reason for that. It's just because JC has such a wide repertoire of abilities. Like his run defense and tackling ability, he's a bigger dude than people give him credit for. So Derek
Yep.
Brown, Brian Burns, obvious answers for all pro.
Yeah.
JC Horn is health dependent, and then I think he could make first team.
Nice. And let's see whatever. I mean, Surtain had Evero. Let's see if Surtain's is still the same
Right.
guy. Also, a lot more people are going to be throwing against the Jets now because Jets are going to put up points, so people are going to have to throw against them. So
Try him more.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yep.
So overall, great experience. I gotta go. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
Great information that you got for us. Anybody like that that you met or that you would think that Panther Nation needs to know about to follow or any of those things? I know you shouted out a few people early on.
All the people that you quoted today, all the local coverage that we have,
Yeah.
I just think it's really important to follow local coverage. As far as content creators that I met, Dunk on Demand is great for Panther analysis and real time tweeting clips, things like that during camp. I believe he said that he would be at camp for the duration.
Oh, cool.
I look forward to seeing some of these people again down there when I'm for the joint practices. Cam and T, I write with Cam over at Cat Crave. He's a contributor for Cat Crave as well. Him and his buddy T have great podcast content. They do a lot of really fun things. They were awesome to meet. And then Monty with the 4-man rush. 4-man rush is a staple. But if any of those kind of local, from the ground up, built it kind of podcast content creator groups, those are the ones that I would pay the most attention to for Panthers stuff because they have a vested interest, man. They're fans, but they're also just good at what they do.
Yeah, and we'll be there next year.
Yep.
We'll
go.
keep on going, and we're gonna
that's
we're gonna be
fingers
those
crossed,
guys.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was nice though, and it was nice to hear that people do listen to our content and read my content. It's a nice thing to hear, and it gives you more reason to keep going with it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and yeah, you think that what you have to say is interesting, and if somebody else thinks if one other person thinks it's interesting,
Yeah,
I'm doing it like for me, and you're probably doing
absolutely.
it for you.
Right.
I know you're doing it for you, but the reason we put it out because somebody else might also find it interesting. So I'm glad that
That's it.
somebody has
Yep.
like even one person saying it to you is like really really awesome.
Yeah,
And yeah, you're right. It keeps you motivated to keep doing it.
that's right.
Because or else I would just do it in my bathroom and
Yeah,
and with nobody listening.
yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you. We will try to get this done again ASAP. Like maybe
Yep.
like first pads practice because I know we're gonna get like
Yeah.
a lot more information.
Yep.
But we'll talk about that. We'll tweet about it. We'll let you know when it comes out.
Yep.
But hopefully it's sooner rather than later. And that's all I got. Everybody keep pounding.
That's it. Keep pounding. You saw somebody that you recognize, introduce yourself, shake their hand, start talking shit with them, and it was just a bunch of fun.